Well, then let's get this thing started. I don't have an official intro. Usually Paul says something funky.
Okay. Now there's pressure. I mean,
Okay.
We can't do the cowbell.
No, not the cowbell.
I'll come up with something for
okay.
next time.
We'll start this way. Welcome to Their OK, a version of the OK podcast where we feature other artists. Today, I almost said in the studio. Today on Zoom, we have Tim Baltes. Tim, how are you?
I'm very good. Thank you guys for having me.
Hey, thanks for coming on.
Dude, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for coming.
We talked about it before we started the official recording, but we are, I would say, almost more than thrilled that you wore your signature overalls for this podcast.
It's legendary, man.
Can we
You're
start
bringing
out
them back.
with
You're
that?
making overalls great again.
I don't want to make you self-conscious in any way, but can we start by asking that, is that a conscious choice, or were you just like, hey, I'm wearing overalls this one day, and then it just kind of kept going for the last little bit, or...
So one of my best friends, Sahan Jayasuriya, I worked together with this dude at a music shop. We had a couple music shops, one in Kenosha, one in Milwaukee. And, after working together, we became friends, and we're really close friends now. And so we workshop different characters that we just come up with in our discussions. And so there was one called Big Boy Jones. And Big Boy Jones is a bluesman, of course, and he wears overalls. He plays guitar, and he's like just a doofus. And so I bought the overalls as part of this aesthetic for this character, and then I was like, man, like these are really comfy and like really handy. And so now, like instead of it just being a Big Boy Jones thing, now it's just a Timbo thing, and it's just like. It's the thing I wear all the time now, man. It's really bizarre, but whatever.
I love it.
I want to say this. So, Paul, like I said before we started, we had a brief conversation to the listeners out there who are like, what the heck? They'd have a whole podcast before this thing. We talked about Paul being the drummer in the band is the one that really locked onto your account early on and sent, I would say, no less than 12 videos
100.
over the a lot of videos, just the highlights, And the one you did, I think it was titled Cabin Fever or something, where you're like, do you want to see my red shoes? That has been stuck in my head forever. And after we watched that one, I sent the guys just a single message that said, no, it didn't say anything. It was just a link to overalls on Amazon. And I was like, let's go for it. But that was the turning point for sure. I was like, we need to get in on this overall thing.
It's going to be the new thing. There's that, Paul may know, there's that kid who plays drums, J.D. Beck. You ever heard of him, Paul?
Dude, he's so sick.
He's like this kid. He can't be older than 17 or 18 now.
Yeah.
He's been just crushing it since he was 15, 16. And
Yep.
that guy started it with the overalls. And, like I said, this started as a complete joke for me, but it's like, wow, like people really dig this overalls thing. I dig the overalls thing. I guess I'm going to roll with it. So I think we need to make the trend here. So I don't know, Nick, Paul, Zach, all y'all better start getting some overalls on.
All right, man. I'm going to get some.
All right, good.
You lead the charge and we will follow. We will gladly give you the credit as the founder of the modern overall movement.
Where are you guys from?
We are from a couple different places. Nick and I are from Louisville, Kentucky. And Paul?
I'm in Detroit, right outside Detroit.
So, I was going to say, like, so I got my overalls. These are just Dickies overalls, but we have there's stores out here. You guys ever heard of like Shields or like, well, maybe the big names are like Bass Pro and then like Cabela's.
Yeah.
So So like we have stores like that, but they're like imagine that put on the level of like Walmart in the 90s.
Okay.
Perfect.
And it's called Farm and Fleet. And depending on like what part of Wisconsin you're in, there were two brothers that owned Farm and Fleets. And then they got real angry at each other. So the other guy said, all right, I'm going to start my own store. So now there's Farm and Fleets and Fleet Farms in Wisconsin.
That's fantastic.
But yeah,
A little on the nose.
Yeah. This is probably my favorite Farm and Fleet purchase of all time for sure.
That's awesome. Yeah, here in Kentucky, you'd think there'd be a ton of those stores, but we really have like what do we have? Tractor Supply Company and like Rural King or Menards or something. Not a whole lot, not as many as you think. Yeah, it's about as many shoe stores as we have. No.
Tim,
All
I'm
right.
just curious. Do you wear those in public? Like when you go out, you're just like, "Yo, overalls, what's up?"
Oh yeah. I'm into the overall lifestyle for
You're
sure.
committed, bro. I love it.
Paul, he's going to catch on that all we wanted to talk about were his overalls for a half
1
hour.
hour, the overall hour. All right.
All
We
right.
can start an overalls podcast,
let's
guys. It'd be great.
start with this, Tim, if you don't mind. Just tell our listeners, our audience. Heck, you probably have a bigger audience than us, but tell people what you do, what you're into. I know you're a drummer. We know so far that you wear overalls. Tell us more. We want to get to know what you are like on a professional level. What's your biz?
Sure. So, started out doing bands when I was a kid, which morphed into studio work. I got sick about 5 years ago and quit playing in bands just because it got too hard. And the studio thing, thank goodness, took off. And so I worked with one main producer out in LA and did work for a bunch of video game companies. And that turned into working for Fox, did a lot of movies and TV. And then Disney, I did drums on soundtracks for several shows at the Tokyo Park and several shows on the Disney Cruise Line too. So that was really bread and butter for a while. Side work wise, I still worked a day job. I worked at you guys ever heard of Uline? They make boxes, sell boxes and stuff. So I worked at Uline for 5.5 years. I was a copywriter there for 2.5 years, something like that. And then for the last 3-ish years, I was a technical editor there. So like I was the guy who tried to make instructions easier to use and that sort of thing. And I did a bunch of other crazy stuff on top of that. So quit my day job at Uline in early 2019, thinking that was going to resolve my health problems. Went to NAMM. My body held up through NAMM, which was an amazing experience. I did. Have you ever heard of Revival Drum Shop out in Portland, Oregon?
Yeah.
So I'm friends with Jose, the owner, and the dudes who work there, and they requested that I play their 10th anniversary show. And so I played drums on that bill alongside Matt Chamberlain, who's played on like the Wallflowers records and a bunch of other famous stuff from the late 90s, early 2000s and into today. Mark Juliana, who played on David Bowie's last record. And then the guy who headlined it was Fred Armisen from SNL and Portlandia and that sort of thing. So it was just
sweet.
insane to be on a bill with those dudes. Did that and then got home planning some promo stuff I was going to do back in Chicagoland. And then my body fell apart last year. 2 years ago now. It's crazy to think that. So mid 2019, my body fell apart. I was bedridden for a month and a half.
Oh gosh.
And it's been picking up the pieces ever since. Turns out my balls are broken, and my body quit making testosterone. So I got basically the same way a diabetic shoots up insulin, I'm shooting up testosterone. And when you go through, and I was actually under the impression that it was something else and it was going to kill me eventually. So that was super fun to come to terms with my mortality.
Dang.
But, when you go through this sort of experience, especially having come from like I was ready to build a new life as a musician and then that was taken away from me temporarily. Now having hope that, I got another good 20, 30, 40 years. I'm hoping to, as my body gets better, really build the life that I want to build. And I don't necessarily think it's going to be touring, but what I got going on now to come full circle here, what I'm trying to do now is focus on entertainment. I'm trying to get my numbers up on Instagram and I'm trying TikTok, which is wild. TikTok is very, very difficult to understand at all as a 31-year-old dude.
For real.
And beyond that, ultimate goal, I'm working on an online masterclass, like a video masterclass, because people are asking me all the time, how do you play like you play? How do you record drums like you record drums? How do you do content marketing or social media stuff? So I'm going to try to put something together that's comprehensive on all those fronts. And then thereafter, I'm hoping to get a little roster of online students together and move on with life from there. So that's where I come from. Here's where I'm at, and there's where I'm going.
Dude, I love it.
That's
Well,
amazing.
Tim, we're glad you're here, man.
Thanks. Yeah, it's nice to not be dead. That's tight.
Yeah.
Yeah. For
Well,
real.
I hope you are feeling good today. And looking back at all of your videos, you have a lot of them on Instagram. I'm sure there's even more content that didn't get posted, but I know it's probably awkward having someone just make observations about you for an hour, but you would not be able to tell if in any of those you were at all feeling bad or afflicted by anything. You have a very positive attitude at all times, it seems. So, I mean, that's you've been keeping it together for sure.
Well, thanks, man. I do my best, especially now. I've been on medication since March 2019, and so that obviously that helps with the energy. And I used to have a lot of dizziness issues. It was like I was on a boat all the time in the middle of the freaking lake, and that was really tough. And so most of that stuff's resolved and resolving. And so having all this extra time and energy, I really do want to put that into not just putting out drum content, but especially more funny stuff, because I get so many messages from people that are like, I just got a message today from a buddy. I'm gonna pull it up. And so he said, my buddy who I work with a lot thought he was following me, but he thought I didn't post that much. Funny, I post twice a day. And so he started actually following me a couple days ago. And this guy said, I can't believe how much I needed this content. My mental health has been so much better because I watch these videos every day. And so it's just like so nice. And I hear this all the time, whether it's, a DM or just about someone enjoying it, or I hear about a lot of partners who, boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, who literally, wife could care less about drums, but now they're able to connect because, one of them's a drummer, one's not, and they can still find this whole thing funny. And whole families, dude, I got a whole family with, husband, wife, 6 kids out in Seattle that all watch my content. They've made videos like singing the songs I make together as a family. It is amazing. Even Mark Juliana, that player who drummed on David Bowie's last record, sent me a video where his son was just like doing all these lines and reenacting an entire video that I did. And it's just like, wow, like this is really like, especially now where we're all cooped up and, a lot of people are on hard times and everything, to be able to put something out there that at least makes you forget about that for a second is, it's such a blessing to be able to do that.
Definitely.
For sure. Yeah.
It's working,
I
man.
I can definitely confirm that for you. You push a lot of positivity into the world, man.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that, Nick.
If I can ask this, what when did you? I mean, I'm having trouble coming up with a question. When did you decide that you were going to put effort and energy into that as more of an online personality sort of thing? I know the internet's been a part of every musician's life for the last half century or whatever. But when did you decide, hey, I'm going to really put some extra attention on this channel?
For me, I wanted to put more energy specifically into the entertainment end of things. The last few years, I've been posting drum stuff on Instagram for 6, 7, 8 years. And it sounds like there was a child jumping on a trampoline in someone's home. I hope that child is safe right now. I'm just going to side note.
He's all right. We were saying this, man. I'm sorry. Nick has a son, and usually he's on the podcast. And
I love it.
We were like, hey, if you get the okay, you're getting the okay. Full on with Eli's in the background.
No, I love it. I love it. It's just like all I hear is like, yay. Yeah, there he is. There he is.
He gets really excited. It seems like exclusively during podcast time. So
what a good kid. I love it. So anyways, so I started posting these karaoke videos, I don't know, 3-4 years ago, where it was like a normal Instagram post, and it'd be a minute of me just singing terrible lyrics over like a Three Doors Down song or a Toto song or whatever. I think the first one I made was that Fire and Flame song by Dragon Force. I sang like a bunch of lyrics about Pokemon over it, and people loved it. People loved it. So I took that and I ran with it. I made 3-4 videos over a few months, and that started to ramp up until like 3 weeks ago now. I had a post go viral. I made this post that was making fun of that metric modulation thing where people are playing that
Yeah.
Tears for Fears song,
Yeah.
like all goofy or whatever. And I mean, it's cool, like it's cool that we can do something like that over a song, but it's also like, does everyone need to make a video about that now? So I made this video where I'm like blasting over it, and then I do the funny, yelling, screaming karaoke over the end. The video wound up getting like almost 400,000 views in a couple weeks, and a bunch of my other content then as a result really got a lot of views, and so I got like 5,000 followers and a new followers in a couple weeks, and I was
That's
like,
awesome.
goodness gracious,
That's awesome.
so that
Heck yeah.
that continues to now push me to be like, well, I guess the stupid stuff works. I better keep cranking out the stupid stuff.
Well, I know
We love the
personally,
stupid stuff.
for sure. Paul sends me that stuff all the time.
Good.
But I'm
Probably
not gonna
daily.
lie, man. I'm really enjoying. I guess I would call them like your influence posts that you've been making lately, where you talk about the different songs that have influenced you over the years. You made that post about Rancid the other day, and I think I've watched that one clip like 800 times.
Oh wow, man! Oh,
Yeah,
thank
no
you.
joke. Rancid is that was one of the first bands that I ever like really got into,
Yeah, me too.
and so I was like, I gotta watch that again.
It's so good. I found this software online. It's called Moises, Moises, and it's like you put a song in there and you can take out whatever instruments you want. Take out the bass, take out the guitars, take out the drums. So now I'm able to like make these posts with all this music that I normally wouldn't be able to cover before. And so yeah, it's like Rancid was a big one. I literally, when you guys pulled me on the podcast here today, I was putting a bunch of stuff in that software so I can pull it out later, like Cake, Minus the Bear, Interpol, The National, Cursive, a bunch of indie stuff and some
Speak
punk
of my language.
stuff, Against Me, Gaslight Anthem. So
Heck yeah.
so there's it's just like now I've made so many videos playing new music that comes out because fortunately or unfortunately, so much of the new stuff just has program drums on there. So I can get around, 808 sounds or synth, drum sounds or whatever and put real drums over it. But I was never able to do that with all this old music. So I love just being able to revisit some of this stuff from the time I was 10, 11, 12, 13 and really do some damage on it. So yeah.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, that was kind of a big influence on us starting the OKs. Excuse me. A lot of other bands in our genre, which is kind of that like new wave revival, sort of like modern alt pop sort of stuff. They're getting a lot of 80s organic sounds from like vintage synths, but then they're not throwing in any actual drums. They're just adding electronic drums and some popular samples. And we were like, no more, we will have real drums.
Yeah, no joke.
And,
It's like everybody's got the same gated snare sample that they're throwing on everything.
Yeah,
So
I agree.
I love that you're throwing some of that into the newer stuff. I think this is a good segue. What are some bands that you're just really into?
I always talk. There's one band I always talk about from Winnipeg, Manitoba, which is the Weaker Bands. They were a punk band that was on what band? They were on Hopeless Records, and then they switched over to Epitaph later on in their career. Great stuff. And it's basically imagine punks growing up into like alt country and alt rock, and it's as I was growing up, I got further into their discography and I got to grow up with the music as the music matured. So love that band. Another, some of the stuff that I've been revisiting now is like Minus the Bear, which was so big. The early stuff was so big for me when I was 12, 13, 14 years old. What else do I have here? Really been digging back into Mandolin Orange, which is like a real folky bluegrass kind of band. And another smaller band that a lot of people haven't heard of, artist, is Madison Cunningham. Her last full length, I believe it was produced by Jay Belrose, who and the drums sound like him, but I guess it's another person on there, so I assume he was coaching this drummer. But it's just like, again, this super folky, rocky sort of thing, which is just kind of my vibe, Americana-y, folky, alt country kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's my jam. So that's where my mind's been lately.
As you progress into this it almost seems like a new path for you, but it seems like you are a man of many different talents as far as the entertainment industry goes, as far as musicianship goes. You said you've really changed your focus to more of an entertainment aspect of things. As things go on, and you said there's a few different things you want to go, a master class, that sort of thing, having students. Are you wanting to stay focused on that sort of teacher role, or are you interested, or do you have the desire to get back into more of a traditional band setting? What are your priorities there?
Everything's dependent. I talk to my partner all the time about what would it take for me to tour once the world's spinning again.
Sure.
And I think if I was going to tour, it'd be under two different circumstances. One would be I would be getting paid a boatload of money to play drums or tech drums. I'm
Of course.
I'm well regarded for my understanding of how to coax different sounds out of drums, whether it's by modifying them, picking the right drum, picking the right head, tuning it correctly, dampening it correctly. And so if a tech position, a salaried tech position showed up out of nowhere, I would consider that. But those are far and few between. I only know one guy personally who has a salaried tech position, and that's the dude teching for Green Day. So you really got to be the tops of the tops. You got to be the tops of the tops, and basically it's a day job for him. So that's one situation. The other situation that I could envision myself doing entertainment wise would be touring and on my own accord, going to 5 or 6 or 7 drum shops around the country and doing my karaoke comedy and a little bit of drum stuff. That's always been a thought because fortunately I'm friends with just about everybody who owns a drum shop in America. So that makes that part easy.
That does seem so. I was asking. I was trying to replace Paul, but we don't have any money, so. Sorry.
You can just have it. I'd be honored. I'll start making goofy videos. We'll switch.
Here's the thing. It's doing the band thing is so fun, and I miss that so much because you can, even in this conversation, you can just tell how much camaraderie there is between you dudes. And I miss that so much. But what I appreciate about making a career online, whether it's teaching or these little things that I sell, whether it's the masterclass or the drumless tracks or this, that, or the other, is the freedom. When you build a career not based on a location, if I'm teaching drums out of my house or whatever, then I have to stay in Kenosha because my students are here and they expect to come here. And then if I decided I wanted to move to wherever, say Portland, Oregon, well, I'm going to have to rebuild a base of students out there, and that's going to take time, and I'm going to lose a lot of money doing that. If I build a career based on the internet, teaching through Zoom, which works for me because not only do I teach, how to drum, but I teach how to record, how to mix, how to do social media. So that works in my favor. And so because, that's where I'm coming from and that's what I'm trying to teach, I could build a roster of 20, 40 students. And if I wanted to pick up tomorrow and say I want to go to Hell, Michigan for fun, I could do that. So, that's kind of the beauty of building this online versus touring or setting up a brick and mortar teaching operation. Yeah. So, yeah.
Cool. That's great. I admire that flexibility. That's very cool.
Yeah. That's flexibility is really what it's about for me. Especially after being ill too. I would consider remote work writing again, whether it's copywriting or editing or proofreading or social media management, content strategy, any of these sorts of things. But yeah, it's so much of this comes down to freedom. I don't think I'm going to be the type of person to have kids. And I don't think, well, I probably couldn't have kids at this point, with my issue, but so really, since that's off the table, building a life around freedom isn't as expensive as it would be if I had a mortgage, if I had kids, if I had a bunch of debt, so I feel very fortunate in that regard too, for sure.
Awesome. We don't, excuse me, we don't want to force you to share anything more than what you would like to share about your personal life, but what are some other things that you're into? I know musicians are typically pretty single-minded, like, I'm into music, what are you talking about? But what are some other things you enjoy? You a podcast guy, or you go, what is some hobbies? I don't know. What else can you tell us?
I like bathing in chicken oil. I like underwater basket weaving.
Yeah, the overalls really give that vibe.
But no, I mean, I grew up bowling, obviously because of the pandemic. Like, I still don't feel comfortable going to the alley, but if I had time, I'd be bowling more often.
They shut down our one bowling alley here in town, so.
This is Wisconsin.
If you want to call it a bowling alley.
In Wisconsin, we got about 6 bowling alleys per city. That's a minimum.
Right.
That's an ordinance. So, I love bowling. I really enjoy walking and hiking. Obviously, music is the main focus of my life. My entire living space is a studio. That's literally where I live. And so, there's that. I don't know. I'm trying to think of what else I really like doing. Yeah, hiking, walking, bowling, and consuming. I love movies, and consuming music as much as I love creating it.
Yeah.
I feel like I've been very dominating in this Q&A. Do you guys have anything specific you wanted
Zach,
to ask?
shut up.
Yeah, Zach, stop talking about yourself. I'm just kidding. Yeah.
Tim, I got a random off the wall question. Sure. Where does the artwork on your drum heads come from?
Sure. So funny you ask. So I actually just talked with her last night. I mainly work with one artist out of Austin, and I've known her fiance for a while because he was one of the early drummers on Instagram, and we connected through that. And I didn't realize they were dating at the time. And this gal, Megan, I found her first head. The first head that I got from her was used through a guy I know. And then I started ordering through her. And now I've got like 30 plus drum heads from her.
They're insanely cool.
Thank you. Yeah, it's Megan, MEGAN _Palin, PAILIN on Instagram. And she's an incredible artist. She does great work. And she really understands, aesthetically how to make art look appropriate on a drum head, which I think is part of the equation too, which can be missed by some artists. And so I have a ton of heads from her. I used to work for a guy who prints drum heads. He actually, unfortunately, just shut down business. But he's out in Portland. A buddy of mine, Justin, it was called Visionary Drum. I've got a lot of that stuff. And then I have, and he was the guy who printed, like, Paul, maybe you've seen, there's big fat snare drums that have designs on them and art on them.
Yeah.
He's the guy who did those.
Oh, sweet.
And then I worked with, I got a buddy, Corey Strange, out in California, who's done a head for me. And then Zoe out in the UK, who did a head for me too. So I do try to kind of bring new artists into the fold, but I always go back to working with Megan. She's so great. I have so many, what do they call that? Something in the pot, chickens in the pot, forks in the pot. I don't know what the old saying is. I got a lot of stuff going on in my life, so I've been I've been consulting with this drum company up in Minnesota, and I don't know if you've been a church drummer at all, Paul, but
oh yeah.
So Risen Drums, you ever heard of them?
Yep. Oh yeah.
Yes.
So my buddy Grady has been building those drums for a long time.
Okay.
He finally bought that company. And I've been working with him on the rebrand for like 6 to 8 months now. No, probably closer to 8-9 months. And so it's called Franklin Drum Company now. And I've worked on everything from the specifics to the shell to all sorts of stuff on the marketing end of things and finishes and how to move forward with all different elements of the business, which has been fun. And so for my time, they're throwing me a drum kit, and so we've been.
Heck yeah!
I'm really looking forward to it, and so I was talking to Megan last night about getting heads ready because we finally got the paint right. So Ludwig made drums in the 70s called Ludwig Standards. They were like basically cheapies that you could buy for kids, but they had funky finishes like the Japanese drums did in the 60s and 70s. And there's this, you probably know the Ringo drums, how they have that strata going on. So the standard line had a strata called Lemon Strata, which was like bumblebee yellow and black, just, and I wanted to have that remade. So we called up the wrap company in the States and said, hey, can we do this? And they basically said, well, if you did that, you'd have to order enough to cover basically like 20 drum sets. And that was like, okay, well, we can't do that. So there's this crazy guy in Minnesota who does paint. It's a top industry secret who the guy is, but he's like amazing painter. He found a way to recreate that finish with paint. And so we got the final sample yesterday. I'm really, really excited. And I'm just as curious to see how the heads look when they come out. So
that's super cool.
It's gonna be
awesome.
It's
looking forward to that.
So we still can't afford the premium feature on Zoom. So does anyone have any final rapid fire questions here? We're at 5 minutes left in this thing.
Do we have any questions about candies or fast food or what else we got? What do we got here, Paul? Hit me.
I got a question
for us also. So
I got a question. You've made mention on your post a little bit about, you track some metal stuff and you used to listen to it. What were some of the metal bands that were influential for you back in the day?
Sure. I tell a story all the time that I was, when I was 17, 18 years old, I was asked to be in Oceano, the big deathcore band from Chicago. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
I did not know that.
Very familiar.
So, I was friends with Jeremy. My band's always played with his band. He was the original guitar player for the band. I think he plays with Rooks and maybe another band, but, and we had texted and talked about doing it. And basically my parents sat me down and said, you are disowned if you go and do this right now. And as a 17-year-old, that felt like a real threat. But yeah, that was one of my, I loved them. They were friends, but some of my favorite bands were Animosity, Copperwise, I forget his first name, but he played in what's that Tappity Doo band with Tosin Abasi.
Animals as Leaders.
Yeah. So he played in that for a little bit, but Animosity is an amazing death metal band. If you've never heard of them, worth checking out. I listened to a lot of hardcore. I'm trying to think of this one band I really like. Oh, Despised Icon.
Yep.
Oh my gosh. When Alex, I forget his Alex Doom, I think they called him, but when he played drums in that band, I think he's playing with them again. Man, that guy played with like marching sticks and his arms were just like giant. He would just, like I imagine that's the sound he makes as he's playing the music. It's like that's the kind of stuff that really did it for me as a kid was not just that it's, technical drumming, but that there's a voice there, this dude in Animosity used jazz, like fusion fills and stuff like this. And the drummer from Despised Icon just had such power and unique fills that it was just amazing. So both those bands, if you're into death metal and you haven't heard of them, check them out.
All right, Tim.
Sweet.
Tim, I feel like we could talk to you all day. I'm not sure if even if I stepped out of the conversation, sometimes I feel like I just guide the questioning. But thank you so much for coming on. It's been a tremendous pleasure to get to know you a little better. You are welcome back anytime you want to. You can politely decline. You don't have to say anything. But again, just thank you for coming on.
I'm always down. Yeah, I appreciate you guys having me on.
I'd love to end it this way. How can people find you online, and what would be the best way for people to support you and your art?
Sure. So on Instagram, I'm Timbo from Keno, Timbo from Keno. And I have that same username on TikTok. And if you can follow me on TikTok, that'd be great because I need some freaking followers over there. DMing on Instagram is probably the easiest way to get at me, or emailing me at timbdrums.com or timbdrums@gmail.com. Support-wise, I have drumless tracks available at the link in my Instagram. Great practice tool for drummers, so check that out.
Awesome. Tim, thank you so much. Zoom's probably going to kick us off.
That's right.
But we'll be watching your videos, and we'd love to support you. So I'm sure we'll see you around. And hey, if you're ever in town, just pick an instrument on stage, and you're welcome to sit in on whatever you want.
I'll be there with the boys. All right, I'll see you later.
Sounds great.
Thanks, Tim.
Take it easy, man.